fires, plagues.
Don't forget the war.
It was with Blackrock, alright? You alright? Show yourself! Now! Don't get too worked up. Someone's attacking! Alarm! You're dead, scum! I know!
Hello you guys, I'm Dreamon aka the Belgian Waffle, and this time I'm gonna try to amuse you with Thief. Although, I do give you the advice to watch this video on full screen, because it is so damn dark everywhere that it's pretty hard to see anything with a white background of YouTube that disturbs the contrast for your eyes. By the way, one useful side note in between is that I've played a third Thief, but never got around to try the first two games, which for some people will make my review appear as invalid, because I do not have enough hours spent on the franchise. But then again, how much of the original fanbase is still left? This is a reboot of the franchise because this game needed a reboot, so I will view it as such. So this review will be focused more on the average player that is not too familiar with the franchise but did play some of it or has seen and heard a lot of it. Now, as you may or may not know, this game has been made by Eidos Montreal, and these are the guys that gave us Deus Ex Human Revolution, which was an amazing game if I say so myself, and the Thief franchise has always been loved and admired as the ultimate stealth experience, and it's been a decade since the last game was released. So, to say the least, the expectations for this game are really high. Even I was pissing my pants of excitement, so let's see if this game can meet up with the expectations before I piss myself even more.
Oh god.
Okay, one thing that surprised me about Thief when I played it is that it runs incredibly smooth for a game that looks this great. At least on PC it does. I don't know how well it runs on consoles and how it looks there, but on PC the lighting effects are just amazing. I don't know if I've seen ever such good lighting effects than perhaps maybe Twilight. Oh my god, he's so sexy! But the color of the lights, and the range of the light, and the mood and atmosphere it gives to the game is unmatched, I think. Another great thing to mention is that the game has a lot of options to tweak both the graphical settings and the difficulty settings. Everything you can think of in terms of difficulty can be set on or off, so if you do not like certain things compared to the older games which seem too modern for you, then you can switch them easily off in the options menu. So there is no reason to complain about this game being too modern, because you can turn off the settings which you don't like yourself. Some minor bugs that are worth mentioning are, for example, that cutscenes will reset your resolution of the game, and another one is that you can sometimes still hear the voices of guards talking through walls inside of dungeons and such.
You read the newspaper?
Huh?
They're saying the livestock cull worked.
Worked for killing all the animals, I suppose. The gloom's still here.
Can't read, but I can smell shit all the way from Dayport.
To say the least, the possibilities in this game are huge, besides the combat aspect of course, but I'll go into that later in the video. All I can say for now is that the combat is not advised. It is discouraged as much as possible by making you die very fast, giving you little choice in terms of weapons, and demanding outrageous prices for better ammunition. But that doesn't really bother me that much, since it is a stealth game after all. But, as we were used to of the Thief franchise, this game has a lot of different stealth equipments, especially the many different kinds of arrows which are there to actively change things in the environment. For example, water arrows can be used to put out torches over large distances. The fire arrow is used for exactly the opposite and also lighting trails of oil. You will also have to use rope arrows to pull objects towards you or climb in specific parts of a level which you cannot reach otherwise. Then there are also blunt arrows which are used primarily to distract enemies, and then you got your broadhead arrow and buzzsaw arrow, which will do a lot of damage, and you will also have gas arrows to stun enemies and explosive arrows. However, this last type of arrow is extremely expensive, and this is one of the many ways that this game restricts you from going into combat. But this is also a subject that I will discuss later in the video. Now, lockpicking itself is also quite well thought out in this game, because for example there is no real timer on your lockpicking, or the lockpicking itself isn't that difficult to do, but you will be stressed and pressured in a different way. Because for example all the major loot chests are in open areas where all the guard patrols are, so you will either have to dispose of the guards or just hurry the fuck up, because otherwise you will be horribly murdered. Other useful items are your wire cutters and various other things to disarm traps or open locked areas or loot. Some major loot chests are even rigged with traps, which makes you even more cautious, which is all very good because it is very realistic that valuable items and loot will be guarded pretty well or rigged with traps. However, one major disappointment for me in terms of possibilities is the ability to set traps yourself, which has unfortunately been removed from the game or is only available later in the game or by unlocks or whatever. I don't really know for sure since I didn't got that far in the game, since this game can take quite some time to complete if you do all the side quests and go loot as much items as you can.
It's the best kind of fake, though. One that'll make good coin.
The game is not really open world because it is very similar to how the level design was done in Deus Ex Human Revolution, a large central level, or a hub as you may, that allows you to roam freely and that you can use to enter the smaller levels that are linked to that central level, or hub world. Sometimes the game also gives you the illusion of freedom in the world, because for example rope arrows should allow you to attach yourself to any wooden surface like you could in the previous Thief games. But in this Thief game it only allows you to attach a rope to a spot that the devs allow you to. This way they kind of force you in one direction they want you to go, which is not always very interesting and makes the game feel more linear at some times. However, on a positive side note, the game does allow you to enter many houses on the streets and plunder them. You can even use them to enter other areas or avoid guards. By the way, as many of you may have noticed when watching older trailers of this game, then you might have noticed a roof running scene that made this game look a lot like a first-person Assassin's Creed game. Well, this is actually very restricted in this game. It is very linear and limited in amount of times you will be able to do this, which is good for the fans of the franchise, but in terms of the open world aspect, it is very restricting, meaning that you will be running and sneaking on the ground for the most part, which is for me personally a disappointment because I was hoping to roam free in the city on both ground level and roof level. But there are unfortunately a bit too many restrictions for that. Now this game is made and designed in a way that stealth is absolutely necessary. You cannot complete the game without using stealth at all, simply because some levels or missions automatically fail when you're spotted by guards. Now this is good news for stealth fans though, however this is a little less good news for people who like the way that the game Dishonored allowed you to choose different paths, like for example that you could choose to be a deadly assassin in combat instead of doing everything stealthy. In fact, Thief discourages combat in every way possible because you're only given a bow and a blackjack, and once a guard has spotted you, your blackjack won't be much good to put them down. Now it is possible to kill them though, but not in the way that Deus Ex or Dishonored let you do that.
Say what?
Combat is actually punished in some way too, because once a guard spots you, he will alert the others near him, unless he's alone in that part of the level of course. But one guard is already very hard to kill unless you're very amazing at dodging attacks, because believe me, one sword swing can take away half your health. So 2 or more guards will most likely be a massacre for you, unless you've set the game on the lowest difficulty possible. Now another way that the game punishes you for going into combat is the ridiculous prices that are set on better arrows. For example, the explosive arrows costs 150 gold, so it is absolutely insane to try to get that cash together for using explosive arrows on a regular basis. Now if you thought that all was bad, then you're mistaken, because the stealth itself in this game is very realistically done. In other games with stealth aspects, like for example the Elder Scrolls, Assassin's Creed or Splinter Cell, the enemy AI is pretty dumb and they don't notice you very well. However, in Thief the guards will notice you in a very realistic way, and if you don't stick to the shadows then you can forget about it. To make it even more realistic, there are animal alarms, as I call them, which are basically dogs that can smell you, or birds in a cage that will give away your position when you get too close to them. In fact, during the testing phase of the game, the enemy AI was so realistic in spotting you that the testers couldn't complete many of the missions, so they actually had to dumb down the enemy AI to make the game more doable. As I mentioned before, you got to stick to the shadows, and that means that even candles can be a potential hazard for giving away your position. So it is vital that you take notice of all these little details, because otherwise your playthrough won't be going smooth at all. Not even if you would have a lubricant near you somewhere. Your character is also very vulnerable to enemy attacks, so it is best to stay hidden as much as you can. Now, I myself like this kind of playstyle, but I can understand that many other players would want to be able to have a choice how to tackle their objectives. So people who like a great combat system in a stealth game will be disappointed, I'm afraid. But I think that the majority of players knows what to expect from the Thief franchise, unless you have been living under a rock, of course. Now, Thief as a stealth game is put together very well in my opinion. However, some things I would have loved to see in this game were, for example, the ability to set traps and the ability to attach a rope to any wooden surface, and this kind of restrictions limit my possibilities and freedom of movement a little bit. And also the lack of better melee weapons is perhaps also a subject that some may hate, but then again, this is done to make it a proper stealth game. So the game kind of forces you to use stealth, which some fans of Dishonored or Assassin's Creed will not like that much, but then again, the combat system in Assassin's Creed is crap anyway, so who cares? Although the story is kind of disappointing, I feel, and is also a subject of negativity in our reviews. However, in terms of realism and stealth and the atmosphere that they created in this game, they did an amazing job. So in the end, this game could have been a lot worse. So I am more eager to say that it is a good game. Definitely a lot better than average anyway. The only question that remains is if it's gonna be a big hit. Well, that is something you have to decide for yourself, because it all depends on what you're looking for in this game. But if you're looking for a realistic stealth game, then you won't be disappointed.
So tell me, my man, you happy here in the big world?
Find it boring, really?
Thrill. And now, Japan!
My name is Dreamon, the Belgian Waffle. I've been your host for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you guys next time. By the way, if you guys are able, please share and favorite these videos if you're already a subscriber. It would help me out a lot.